Episode 2. Elves Don't Know About Soy Sauce. The dawn in Aethelgard didn't break with the roar of Tokyo traffic, but with a chorus of bioluminescent songbirds that sounded like wind chimes in a gale. Kaito Sato sat by the stream, his messy, dark hair damp with dew and his slender frame shivering slightly in his rugged khaki jacket. He was a man of the city, more comfortable with the hum of a vending machine than the rustle of ancient leaves, yet here he was, surviving the aftermath of a shadow attack. Elara stood a few paces away, her silver-braided hair catching the first golden rays of the sun. Her emerald robes were stained with mud, and her expression was one of deep, weary frustration. "We must move toward the Sylvan Sanctum," she stated, her voice regaining its regal, dry edge. "The Hollow Walkers will return, and your yellow light may not surprise them a second time." Kaito stood up, his boots crunching on the river stones. "I can't just run blind, Elara. Back in Tokyo, you don't survive by just running. You survive by having a plan and the resources to back it up." "Resources?" Elara scoffed, her emerald eyes narrowing. "We are in the Whispering Woods, not a marketplace. There is no plan here, but survival." "That's where you're wrong," Kaito said quietly. He swiped his hand through the air and the translucent net grocery interface flickered to life. Suddenly, a series of rapid-fire notifications pinged in his vision, bright and persistent. System notification. Achievement unlocked. Big spender. You have spent over 5,000 yen in a single 24-hour cycle. Reward. Level up. Current level, 5. New ability unlocked, scan. Kaito blinked. The level up felt like a shot of espresso to his soul, a sudden clarity that sharpened his vision. He focused his eyes on a cluster of vibrant blue mushrooms growing at the base of a nearby tree. Scan. Result. Item. Cobalt cap fungi. Quality. High. Sell value. 800 mana yen per unit. Usage. Potent mana recovery agent. "Elara, wait!" Kaito's voice filled with a new, clever confidence. He walked over to the tree and began carefully harvesting the mushrooms. "I'm not just picking weeds, I'm gathering capital." "You are desecrating a sacred grove for mushrooms?" Elara asked, her dry wit turning toward genuine bewilderment. "I'm gathering capital," Kaito corrected. He held a mushroom up, then deposited it into the interface. His balance ticked upward instantly. "My power isn't free. If I want to summon the tools we need to stay alive, like more floodlights or, frankly, some decent coffee, I need to provide the system with value. These mushrooms are worth 800 yen apiece. 10 of these and I can summon a high-tier medical kit." Elara watched him, her posture softening from regal defiance to stunned curiosity. For centuries, her people had viewed the forest as a temple. Kaito was treating it like a warehouse. "You see a temple, I see a supply chain," Kaito said, offering a shy, tired smile. "And if we're going to survive the road to the Sylvan Sanctum, we're going to need a very large inventory." Nori, the small emerald dragon, chirped from Kaito's shoulder and hopped down to help out, sniffing out more cobalt caps with its twitching snout. As Kaito reached for a particularly large mushroom, his scan ability suddenly turned blood red. The text didn't read "sell value," but "warning, unknown entity detected beneath root system." The red warning on Kaito's scan interface didn't just pulse, it screamed. He knelt, digging into the damp earth with a determination that his Tokyo coworkers would have recognized as his deadline mode. Beneath the roots of a twisted willow lay a gnarled, obsidian-colored tuber. Scan. Result. Item. Zambuk root. Status. Extremely poisonous. Thought extinct. Quality. Pristine. Sell value, 200,000 yen. Kaito's breath caught. He carefully deposited the root into the system, watching his balance skyrocket. 200,000, he whispered. Immediately, a new notification flashed, brighter than the rest. New ability available for purchase. Item box. Infinite pocket dimension storage. Cost 500,000 yen. He was still 300,000 yen short. To anyone else, the goal was staggering, but Kaito was a man of the Tokyo corporate grind. He was used to high-stakes targets and long hours. He didn't just start walking, he started harvesting. He scanned every rare bark, every glowing pebble, and every high-tier herb in a 3-acre radius, his slender frame moving with a frantic, systematic energy. Elara watched him, leaning against her staff with a look of dry bewilderment. Kaito, you are vibrating with an intensity usually reserved for berserkers or tax collectors. Why are you suddenly obsessed with the dirt? Kaito didn't stop. I'm buying my freedom from manual labor, Elara. Just 10 more cobalt caps. By the time the sun reached its zenith, Kaito let out a jubilant shout. He tapped the purchase button on his screen. Watch this, he said, his shy demeanor replaced by the pride of a man who had just closed a major deal. He walked over to a massive, moss-covered boulder that weighed at least half a ton. He touched it. In a blur of pixels and light, the boulder vanished. Elara's emerald eyes went wide, her regal composure shattering as she stepped back. By the mother, you just folded space-time. Are you a high mage of the forbidden continuum? Kaito wiped the sweat from his brow and gave a clever, tired smirk. Not quite. Think of me as a very high-end valet service for the universe. No mana required, just a very high-interest savings account. As the adrenaline faded, they sat by the stream. The conversation turned toward the Sylvan sanctum, and Elara's expression darkened. She admitted the truth. She hadn't just left, she had fled. I couldn't stand another century of holy berries, she confessed, her dry wit replaced by a genuine weary sadness. They are pure, they are divine, and they taste like damp air and disappointment. In the sanctum, flavor is seen as a distraction from the soul. Kaito looked at her, a wave of empathy washing over him. He knew what it was like to live a life of high-quality purity that felt hollow inside. Why go back then? If you're just going to eat the same thing again and again, that's not a life. That's just a cycle. He felt a pang of sadness for her. Without a word, he summoned a small pot, a bag of premium koshihaki rice, and a bottle of high-quality dashi. He set the stove to a low, gentle simmer. He made her okayu, a traditional Japanese rice porridge. He didn't just boil it, he seasoned it with a touch of ginger and a savory, complex dashi that smelled of the sea and home. When he handed her the bowl, Elara took a single spoonful. The warmth spread through her, the complex, umami-rich flavors hitting her palate with more force than a lightning spell. She froze, her emerald eyes shimmering as she realized that Kaito was right. I can never go back, she whispered, looking into the simple bowl of porridge as if it were the most valuable artifact in Aethelgard. The sanctum may have the light, Kaito, but you have the soul. As Elara took a second bite, the ground beneath them began to vibrate. Kaito's scan ability flared red again, but this time it wasn't a warning for a root, it was a message in a language Kaito recognized from his old life. System update. External user detected in Sector 4. Kaito stood up, his eyes narrowing as he swiped his hand to trigger his latest ability. A translucent HUD flickered over the dark undergrowth of the Whispering Woods, highlighting several heat signatures through the dense ferns. Scan. Result. Entities. 6 shadow stalkers. Threat level. High. Ambush predators. Note. They track through mana vibrations and body heat. Elara, listen, Kaito whispered, his voice low and steady, a trait from years of maintaining composure in high-pressure Tokyo boardrooms. There's a pack of shadow stalkers about 200 meters out. If we stay here, we're the main course." Elara's hand instinctively went to her staff, her emerald eyes scanning the tree line. "I can't sense them yet. Your scan is disturbingly precise." "It's better to leave before they realize the menu just changed," Kaito remarked dryly. He didn't wait for a debate. He adjusted his rugged khaki jacket and led them on a wide detour, moving with the quiet efficiency of a man who spent his life avoiding unnecessary conflict. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the forest transformed. The vibrant greens turned to black ink, and the air filled with an eerie, rhythmic howling that echoed off the jagged mountains. Birds of prey with wings like jagged glass sang discordant notes above them. Kaito saw the fatigue in Elara's posture, the way her regal, silver-braided hair had lost its luster. "We're making camp here," Kaito decided. "Wait here, I'll gather some wood for a fire." The woods at night were a nightmare of shifting shadows, but Kaito returned shortly with a bundle of dry logs. He arranged them in a meticulous log cabin structure he remembered from a late-night hiking channel he used to binge-watch in his Tokyo apartment. With a strike of a summoned flint, a steady, warm flame began to climb the wood. Elara watched him, her expression a mix of exhaustion and amusement. "Kaito, you realize I am a high priestess of the Sylvan Sanctum. I could have conjured a holy eternal flame with a single syllable." Kaito didn't even look up from the coals. "And I'm sure that comes with a very impressive mana drain and a glow that acts as a beacon for every void raven in the sector," Kaito replied with a bone-dry delivery. "I'll stick to the friction-based off-grid version for now." Elara blinked, then let out a tired, genuine laugh. "Anything you wish, Kaito. Just feed me. Anything, as long as you are the one who makes it." Kaito opened his item box and summoned a heavy iron pan, a bowl of pre-washed koshihiraki rice, eggs, and seasoned chicken. As the fire crackled, he began preparing an oyakodon, mother and child bowl. "The trick is the dashi," Kaito explained, his voice quiet as he whisked the eggs. "You simmer the chicken and onions in the broth first, let the umami soak in. Then you pour the egg over just until it's set, but still velvety. It's called oyakodon because it uses both the chicken and the egg, the parent and the child." Elara stared at the bubbling pan, her head nodding rhythmically as he spoke, though her eyes were glazed with total lack of understanding. She didn't care about the culinary theory, she only cared about the scent that was currently rewriting her understanding of the universe. When Kaito handed her the bowl, he took a spoonful of his own. The taste of home, the sweet mirin and salty soy sauce, hit him like a physical wave of nostalgia for Japan. Elara took a deep sniff of the bowl first, her eyes fluttering shut. Then she took a bite. For a high elf raised on flavorless holy berries, it was a fireworks display for her senses. She didn't speak, she simply ate with a ferocious, unregal speed that told Kaito everything he needed to know. The next morning, the forest felt less like a tomb, more like a trail. Kaito and Elara systematically cleaned their campsite, ensuring no modern trash was left behind, a habit Kaito couldn't shake even in another world. As they began the long trek toward the trade city of Oakhaven, Kaito decided to conduct a little experiment. Nori, the emerald dragon, was perched on his shoulder, chirping for his morning snack. "Let's see how you handle some processed power-ups," Kaito muttered. He opened the net grocery and summoned a bag of high-calcium shrimp chips and some protein-enriched beef jerky. Nori didn't hesitate. He inhaled the shrimp chips with a series of delighted squeaks. Almost immediately, his scales began to pulse with a bright neon green light. His small frame began to stretch and thicken, his wings expanding until they had the span of a small hang glider. By the time they stopped for a water break, Nori had undergone a massive growth spurt. He was no longer a kitten-sized pet, but a sleek, mid-sized drake with powerful legs and a broad back. I suppose he's no longer a shoulder accessory, Elara remarked, looking at the now imposing dragon. Kaito grinned and began strapping their heavy backpacks and his industrial floodlights onto a specially summoned harness on Nori's back. Nori didn't seem to mind. He just wagged his tail and looked at Kaito's pockets, hoping for another bag of chips. He's a pack mule dragon now. Kaito patted Nori's side, and with the mid-hills on the horizon, we're going to need all the carrying capacity we can get. As the rolling hills of the mid-hills appeared in the distance, Kaito's scan picked up a new signature, not a monster, but a person hiding in the tall grass ahead, holding a pair of serrated daggers.